So self-awareness, um, it's a big deal for all of us. And we know that when we are growing in our soft skills, emotional intelligence, all those things, it really starts with self-awareness. And so I'm going to take you through a few things today. Um, One of the things we love to start out with is just explaining the difference between our technical skills and our people skills. So sometimes those technical skills are called hard skills. Sometimes those people skills are called soft skills. We always laugh because it's so interesting that those people interpersonal skills are much more difficult to develop than our technical skills. But they are the most important part in business, in life, in relationship, is to be able to hone in on these people skills. And so today we are just focused on that very first one on the list, and that is self-awareness. So self-awareness, what is it, right? It's just conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. And so when we are more self-aware, we tend to be better communicators. We have healthier relationships, our self-esteem goes up, and really what it is like we have to get okay with being who we are. And sometimes in developing self-awareness, we want to make sure we're not playing comparison games or walking into imposter syndrome or any of that kind of stuff. It is really just about being who you are, being aware of it, and then working on how to have better relationships with other people. Just one funny thing, as I was kind of doing a little bit of extra research on self-awareness, there was a study, her name was Dr. Tasha Eurich. And she's an organizational psychologist, and she did this one study, knowing self-awareness is one of these most important skills to develop. And there was like a snag in her research because of the people she interviewed, 95% of them claimed to be self-aware. And then she had figured out as she was doing her research, only 10 to 15% were actually fitting the criteria for people that were self-aware. So it's just kind of funny. Like we think we're self-aware, and then it's like, oh no, there's probably still a lot of stuff we don't know. So we all have a lot of blind spots. And so today I'm going to walk you through a little bit of how to find them, what they look like, and all that good stuff. So perception versus reality, you're going to find that we talk about this a lot. Perception is not reality. However, it can become your reality if you don't seek to understand a situation, and just grow in relationship with people. And so sadly, in relationships, sometimes we don't even take the time to find out the truth, or we just make assumptions on what somebody meant or what they did. And inevitably, if you're in most of the people on this call are responsible for an entire organization. So whether or not you have nobody on your team yet and just clients, or you have a team of 50 people, regardless of where you are on that spectrum, you have to remember that everything's like that telephone game, right? So especially in large organizations, what we find is we've got this person at the helm, they're sharing their vision, they think everything's great. But if you go a couple layers in, and maybe we're talking to the receptionist, or we're talking to an account manager, or things like that, their perception of what's going on is way different than the person in the top of the organization. And so we want to make sure that messages don't get distorted. And so when we talk about perception, it's just our mental impression of something, it's our understanding of something. And then reality are things as they actually exist. So I want to show you just reality of what a visual theory of self-awareness and what it looks like and how it works. Okie doke. All right, so improving self-awareness. So this should be something we're doing daily. It's a journey. We're going to be working on this as long as we live. And so one of my favorite visuals to better understand self-awareness is the Johari window. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but I know for me, every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I have to remember that, right? And so two guys, Joseph Luft and Harry Ingram, they split self-awareness up into 4 windows. And so I'm going to walk you through these different windows right now. So one thing I want you to do before I pull up the windows is just recognize here that we've got 2 sides of this, right? We have the ask side things I know about myself. Well, if I don't know something about myself, what do? I ask for feedback. I ask for, somebody to tell me their opinion about a situation. And then I have the other side of it. That's the tell, right? So there's things that people know about me, but if I don't disclose some of my limitations and some of my beliefs, well, they're really never going to get to know more about me, so that when self-awareness comes into play, we actually have an accurate view of what's going on. So the first two windows I want to show you are the open area and the blind area. So this open area here is about information that is known by you and known by others, right? So I have blue eyes. Okay, so it's known by me, it's known by others. I really, really like to look at information. It's known by me. If you've met me for more than 10 minutes, you kind of know that's something I would tell. The blind area, though, known by me, right? Okay, that's great. But unknown by me, those are the blind spots. These are the things that if we do not ask for feedback, we do not ask for someone else's opinion on something, we're never going to see it. The tough part with our blind area is being okay with the feedback that we get and being unoffended. And that's a whole other segment for another day. We won't go into that right now. And then we have our hidden areas, right? So these are things that are known by me, but they're unknown by others. And so these are things like, I'll give you an example. I do not like grilled cheese. Okay. So if I go to your house and you're serving grilled cheese and I've never said I don't like grilled cheese, well, there's no way you're going to know. And so I'll probably sit there and eat the grilled cheese, even though I don't like it. Right. But I'm not going to be happy about it. So we want to make sure that we're sharing things about each other, obviously at a little more depth sometimes than grilled cheese sandwich, but we want to share things about ourselves so that we don't have as many hidden areas. And then we have our unknown area. And the unknown area are things that are unknown by me and unknown by others. And so the goal to get into that unknown area is to open up our open area. And so what we want to do is make sure that we are making things known by me a little greater and things known by others a little greater, so that that window is the biggest window and the unknown area gets smaller and smaller and smaller because we're constantly discovering. If you think about yourself at 20 years old, and then you think of yourself at 50 years old, right? The known part about me, the known by others about me, it grows greater because time has gone on. And so we're just encouraging you to speed that up if you can, making sure that you are asking for feedback and disclosing things, even if it feels super vulnerable and weird. We want to make sure you're disclosing things about yourself to others as well, so that they feel more comfortable to share with you, so that you don't have as many unknowns about them as well. All right, so these are some fun examples. So things we say things like, I'm fine, which is great if you're fine. But if you're not fine, then you shouldn't say I'm fine, right? So just be aware of what's coming out of your mouth. It's all good, right? Especially if you're saying it's all good and it's fine, great. But if you're saying it's all good and in your head you're going, this is not good. There's nothing good about this. I'm actually aggravated with you, but I just don't want to tell you right now. We put the onus back on ourselves when we're not being honest about how we feel or what we think. And then we love this one, the sure, I can help, even though I have 5 million things I'm doing and I really don't have the capacity or time. And so I'm going to help you with a hardened heart, right? So we want to make sure that when we speak with truth and we speak with conviction of what is actually happening in our head versus just saying whatever we can say for the path of least resistance, because all you're doing is going to stress yourself out, and there's no need for that. Things we think, they are such a, you can fill in the blank. I am such a fill in the blank, and never again, right? So we think these things. I may be, maybe I'm aggravated with Chris, or I'm aggravated with Becca, or, I'm like, man, I told Becca blah, 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 and Becca didn't, right? but I'm not addressing it with Becca. Well, I don't want to waste the amount of, we only can make a certain amount of decisions in the course of a day and process so many thoughts before our brain doesn't really work. And some of us don't have as much time or capacity up here, right? And so we want to eliminate lies because they're lies, they're not truth. And if there is a truth to a thought we have, I'm upset with Becca because, well, if I don't pick up the phone and just have a conversation with Becca, again, that's on me. That's never on Becca, right? So we want to make sure that our thoughts are consumed with things that are true and not things that are just noise or untrue. And then this one, we had a good time making this slide. So things we do, right? So we've all done this. We're all guilty of this. We're having a conversation with somebody and yet our phone is going off. And so we're not really paying attention to the person we're with. We're paying attention to our phone. Or we've been the receiver of trying to have a conversation with somebody who is on their phone constantly. And so if we never have the conversation saying, hey, well, when you're done with your call, I'd love to have a conversation with you. There's nothing wrong with saying that. And also just being aware that if your phone is a distraction, just shut it off or put it away so you can't hear it. Then we have this guy. I don't know about you guys, but I've been accused of some of the looks on my face that they don't always tell the story of what's going on in my head. And so oftentimes if I get interrupted, sometimes I look like this. Even though I'm thinking, okay, I want to pay attention to you, but now I just lost train of thought of what I'm doing. Well, how do I correct that? The only way I correct that is if I tell somebody, hey, I'm about to work on a big project. Come when you can. We may have this reaction, which is just I've told them a few times that I need I need to work on a project and they're not listening to me, right? So either way, no matter if you feel like this or you feel like this, or you see somebody who looks like this, just go a step further. That's what this is all about, right? It's taking it and going a step further. And then our favorite, if we're in the middle of a conversation and somebody does this to us, it probably means they're not listening anymore. So we want to engage and find out. We certainly don't want to do this to anyone either, but we've all, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure most of us have been engaged in situations like this where we are, have expressions and things that we do that we may not realize how bad it is. Just one quick example, I didn't know this until I asked for feedback. We had done those, 360 reviews on all the partners in our firm. And I asked for feedback from my team. And I'll never forget the first time we did it. It was hard to read it, but the one piece of feedback that I got that, if any of them are watching today, I cannot thank you enough, was on multiple. They said, you don't say hi in the morning. I wish you would say hi. And I thought, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that I'm in, this position and I'm not actually saying hello. Well, the way I'm designed is I don't like to interrupt people. My childhood was like, be seen and not heard, all that kind of things. And so I didn't want to interrupt anybody. So I was doing it to try to be polite. But the truth is I didn't know that a lot of them actually wanted me to say hi. It sounds silly, but had I never asked, I would have never known. And so now I became aware of the fact that people actually like it when you say good morning and hello. So anyway, want to be more self-aware, right? To be honest is to be kind. These are things that we have to be honest with ourselves and we have to be honest with other people. So we always want to ask for feedback. We want to disclose information that people don't know about ourselves. We also want to seek information that we don't know. We want to not make assumptions. And we want to pay more attention to things that we say, that we think, and that we do. If we don't pay attention to these things, people will decide for themselves what we think, and people will decide for themselves what we intend. And so we want to graduate to an understanding and a mutual respect with other people. And we only do that by asking questions and sharing information. We have lots of resources on this, our blog, our YouTube channel. We are constantly putting stuff out on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can always call us. Those are always great things. And so before I'm going to stop the recording in a minute, but this is where we're going to spend a couple minutes here. on roadblocks. So, what would prevent you from asking for feedback or disclosing information? And so, we're going to open that up to everybody in just a moment.